Okay children, we are going to discuss system of particles and rotational motion. It is an important chapter and involves many conceptual topics to be discussed. We need to understand what is a system of particles. Now in the previous classes you have discussed the motion of point masses, right? Generally when you talk about a large object, then a large object is basically a multi-particle system, meaning many particles together make an object. When you pack many particles in a single object, it becomes what? A system of particles, right? So when I am talking about system of particles, then I am referring to an extended system. An extended system is, I have large number of particles here, let us say n particles, they combine together and they generate what? A big object. So this big object becomes what? A system of particles put together. We also call it what? Extended object. Now this extended object has got many properties, right? For example, it has a definite shape and size. When a force is applied on it, we can produce what? Motion in it. And in this chapter, we are going to discuss what kind of motion, in fact, this extended object can have. Now before we discuss that, we need to understand what is a rigid body. Now it is important for you to understand what is a rigid body. Now suppose I apply a force on this extended body which is having a system of particles. I apply a force on this extended body and I ask you what possibly can happen to the body. Then we will say, the first thing we will say is that when I will apply a force on it, then the object will get deformed. And the second thing is the object will start moving, right? So let us talk about the first thing, first effect of the force. When I apply a force on it, then two things will happen. First is that the distance among these particles which are making up the matter will change, right? And if the distance will change, let us see here more specifically, there are two particles, one is A and the other is B, and distance between them is R. Suppose under the influence of the force F, this object, this is A and this is B, you can clearly see the distance between them as what? Increase. The distance is what? R dash now, and R dash is more than R. Or maybe we can also select this, R dash is not equal to R. Means if you apply a force on the object and distance between any two adjacent point changes, then we say the object is non-rigid. Non-rigid. However, if you have an object and you apply a force and see this is A and this is B and the distance continues to be what? R only. I am applying force F, and even after applying the force, the distance between two particles remains what? Same. If it so happens, then the object is called what object? Rigid body. Rigid body. So what is a rigid body, children? A rigid body is a body in which the distance between two particles does not change under influence of what? An external force. Meaning the particles will continue to maintain the same separation between them whether a force is applied or not. Okay? So we will define what is a rigid body. Called a rigid body. So you defined it. If distance between any two particles remains unchanged, then it is called a rigid body. So, apply a force, nothing will happen. The distance between the two adjacent particles will always remain what? Same. Let us understand here again. This is an object and here you have particle A and this is a particle B. Distance between them is what? R. Right? And even if you apply a force on this, then there is no effect on it. The distance between two particles A and B here it continues to remain R. Then we will say this is a rigid body. However, if the distance is changing, then we will say that the body is not a rigid body. In this chapter, we are going to discuss only the motion of rigid bodies, right? And we are going to discuss what kind of motion a rigid body can have. Okay, so we will be understanding types of motion. Types of motion of a rigid body. How many types of motion a rigid body can have? Now children, how many types of motion a rigid body can have? You take, for example, an inclined plane and take a block of wood and push it down the slope. Then what do you see? You will see that every particle of this block, suppose I take 3 points A, B and C, they will move down with the same velocity. Move down with the same velocity. This is called translatory motion. So first type of the motion that we have is translatory motion. You must understand very clearly what is a translatory motion, and then we will come to what is rotational motion, and then we will be discussing again rotating without rolling without slipping or sliding. It will also come up later on. First, what is translatory motion? Okay, let us understand it. You see, if an object like here we have said is moving, and if you find there are 3 particles A, B and C such that velocity of A is equal to velocity of B is equal to velocity of C. Meaning, if an object moves in such a manner that each particle of the object has same velocity, meaning we can say that each object of the particle has same displacement in the same interval of time, then the motion is called what? Translatory motion, right? Like here these particles A, B and C, after some time A comes here, this is A, this is B and this is C. You find a distance traveled by A, B and C is same, direction is also same, then I will be forced to conclude velocity of A is equal to velocity of B is equal to velocity of C. Let us see here, I have selected a random object moving on a given surface. It is not necessary that you have to have a block sliding a slope, not necessary. Look at this motion. I take 3 particles, one particle here is P, the other particle is Q and the third particle is R. These 3 particles are moving. If they are moving in such a manner that velocity of P, that is Vp, Q, that is Vq and R, that is Vr. If they are moving in such a manner that velocity of P is equal to velocity of Q is equal to velocity of R, then we will say that the motion is translatory motion. Each particle is moving the same velocity, right? The distance between any 2 particles, adjacent particles, will continue to be the same. Then the motion is called translatory motion. So a rigid body can have this motion also. Let us see next now. Translatory motion. So actually, for sake of convenience, I defined here. You can take down the definition. If a body moves in such a manner that each particle has same velocity, then the motion is translatory motion. You can understand like this also. The distance between any 2 particles will always be same, and particles will move in parallel to each other. We can also say like this, that suppose the system of particle is here in a given time interval. Again, the system of particle comes here, right? Suppose there are 3 particles A1, A2, A3, and here we have A4, A5, A6. These lines will be parallel to each other. This separation is also same and this separation is also same. Will become translatory motion. Clear? Once you have understood this concept, they will be starting with what is rotational motion. Okay, children? What is rotational motion? This is very interesting. What is rotational motion? Now see, if motion is executed about an axis, if motion is executed about an axis such that each particle of the body moves in a circular path, mind my words, moves in a circular path with different velocities, such that center of each circle lies on the axis, then the motion is called what motion? Rotational motion. Generally, when I am saying rotational motion, I am talking about purely rotational motion. What motion? Purely rotational motion. Let us understand it. Suppose here I have an object, and the object is rotating about, I will make it more extended actually. This object is rotating about this axis. Okay, is rotating in what sense? Rotating in anti-clockwise sense, right? Like this. Can you see this chalk? When this chalk is rotating, actually the center of mass of the chalk is having what velocity? Zero velocity. I can rotate about. So if I draw a line passing through the center and going through the axis of the what? Chalk, then this line becomes what? Axis. It's turning. I can show you like this. So here it is rotating about a vertical axis. If I turn it like this, it's rotating about what axis? Horizontal axis. Clear? When the object is rotating like this, imagine I consider a particle P1 out here. This particle is P1. When this object will move in anti-clockwise sense like this, then this particle also move in the what sense? Anti-clockwise sense. And it will describe a circular path like this. Okay, it will be a perfect circle, and center of the circle will be C1 out here. This is particle P1. Take the case of another particle here, P2. This particle is here. Again, this particle is executing motion along what path? This particle is also executing motion along circular path. This particle P2, and the center of the circle is on the axis. This radius is R1. This radius is R2. Similarly, I can consider so many particles. It is not necessary they must move along what? Different centers. I can imagine another particle here which is concentric P3. I will be executing what? Motion along this circle. But the interesting thing is that if I consider these two concentric circles, suppose one circle here and the other circle out here, and say that the particle starts, P1 is here and P2 is here, P2 is here, P3 is here. In a given time interval, P2 moves through this angle, P3 moves to new position, then you can see that angle swept by P2 will be same as angle swept by P3. These angles are same, but P3 is having to travel what? A greater distance compared to distance which P2 is traveling. But the angular displacement is what? Same. So it's very obvious that P3 is traveling greater distance compared to P2. See now, P2 is traveling only this much, and this is traveling what? Greater distance. So obviously we will say that velocity of P3 is more than what? Velocity of P2. But angular speeds or angular velocities, angular velocity of P2 will be same as angular velocity of P3. Actually, I have got the concept of angular velocity in circular motion And again I will be discussing equations of rotational motion, but before that you have an idea that angle delta theta by delta t is called what? Angular velocity. So what do you see in rotational motion? We have a very important conclusion, and you should understand the rotational motion, different particles move with what? Different linear velocities. Very important, linear velocities are different, but angular velocities of all the particles will be same, and it will be the angular velocity of the what? Body. Right? Which body? The rigid body, of which these particles P1, P2 and P3 are the part. Clear? So in rotational motion, what do we see? That each individual particle moves along a circular path. Mind my words, each particle moves along a circular path with centers of the circles lying along a common line, which is axis of rotation, right? And in circular motion you have to know the linear velocities may be different, but angular velocities of all the particles are exactly same and equal to the angular velocity of the particle. So we will be defining what is rotational motion. Rotational motion. So children, here we have defined, you can take a screenshot of the definition. If a body moves about an axis in such a manner that each particle of the body moves in a circular path with different velocity, with center of the circle lying on the axis, then motion is called what? Rotational motion. This is very important for you to understand this. We will understand this concept once again. I want to explain to you. It is an important concept that each particle is moving along a circular path. Imagine a situation in which I have a fan here. The fan is fixed with the what? Ceiling. These are blades of the fan, and the fan is rotating about this axis. Suppose it is rotating in the what? Counterclockwise sense. If I take a particle out here, you know how this particle moves? It moves like this. I think you can very easily imagine this, very easily you can visualize, right? At the center, suppose this particle I call A, then this is the center C. If I take another particle here B, then this particle moves along a circular path like this. Its center could be here. This particle is B, center C1, this center could be what? C2. So you can see that each point on the fan is actually executing motion in the same sense. Means each particle is moving in a circular path along what direction? Anti-clockwise direction. But the special thing is that the centers are lying on this axis of rotation, right? Remember, the center of mass of the fan has zero velocity. So in rotational motion you have to know that the purely rotational motion, the center of mass will have what velocity? Zero velocity. Okay. So center of mass has what velocity here? Zero. Clear? So we understand here that omega is same for all the particles which are making up the rigid body. Their angular velocity is same. Keep in mind these properties, that angular velocity of each particle is same. I give you a very simple example. Suppose I take three particles are A, B and C on the fan, and they all are rotating in the what? Anti-clockwise sense. They can rotate along clockwise sense also. Then in a given interval you can see that they are moving through the same angular displacement. As A goes to A1, B goes to B1 and C goes to C1, then you can see that angle through which they are turning is what? Same. So angular velocity of A is equal to angular velocity of B is equal to angular velocity of C, right? This is C. But you can see that in a given time interval C is travelling what? Maximum distance, and A is travelling what? Minimum distance. So here we will say that velocity of linear velocity of A is less than linear velocity of B is less than linear velocity of C. So here Angular velocity of each particle is same and v is variable. It is not same or not same. So you need to keep in mind. And then the other property I already discussed with you, the centers of all the circles will be lying on the common axis. Clear? So you have to understand that in a purely rotational motion, each particle of the body moves along circular path with the centers of their circular paths lying on a common axis. The angular velocities will be same and v is variable or not same, and velocity of center of mass will be 0. Velocity of center of mass will be 0 in case of pure rotation. Clear? Okay. Now I will be seeing rotation of a symmetrical body like a top. Okay. We will see rotation of symmetrical body. Rotation of symmetrical body, like let us see rotation of a top. Generally speaking, in rotational motion, the axis of rotation will be fixed. But then we come across rotation of certain symmetrical bodies where axis itself is also rotating in a circular path. That is very interesting. In fact, you have seen a rotating top, right? What do you see? There is a vertical axis. There is a vertical axis, and you have seen the top rotates like this, right? The top rotates like this. It is not like this. The top is rotating about its axis. Like, see, this is rotation of top about the axis, but the axis is not vertical, it is inclined. Can you imagine? Like this. And then the top again describes what? Another cone. Rotation of a symmetrical body, in fact, children, is a special case of rotation in which the axis itself rotates in a conical space. This is a cone. You can describe a cone here. And in the vertical axis, this point is fixed. When a top rotates, children, then you'll remember that the lower point here, this point about which the axis is rotating, is not like this, is the vertical axis. Now the axis of the top bends and rotates about the what? Vertical axis. You will notice that this point always remains fixed, like this. Can you imagine? So when it moves, if you see clearly, it is describing what? A cone. It is describing what? A cone like this. And this is the cone along which the axis of the top actually rotates. The top starts from here, suppose, and this is the instantaneous axis of the top. Suppose the top is rotating in the clockwise sense, so this is how it will go. This is how it will go. The next moment, the top could be like this. This could be the axis, position of the axis of the top. Alright, the top could be like this. In yet another position, the top could be like this. And finally, it will describe a full cone and come to like this. This is a very special rotation in which the top is spinning, but at the same time describing what? A cone. So this special method of rotation in which the axis of rotation also what? Rotates. The axis of rotation what? Rotate. The instantaneous axis is variable. See, the cone is here, the top is here and it is going like this. So if the rotational motion is such that the axis of rotation is again rotating about a given point, right, about another vertical axis, then this rotation is called precession. Precession. So what is precession? Up at top, if axis of rotation of a body about a point precession. So we will be coming across this. So this rotation of the top, children, is different from the rotation of a fan. The fan is always rotating about what? A fixed axis. Clear? So we understood this, that there could be situations like in case of a rotating top, that the axis of the top is what? Actually changing, right? It is changing about a given point, and the rotation is executed about a vertical axis. Suppose I say this is what axis? Z axis, OZ axis. Clear? If it is such that the axis itself is rotating about a given point and rotates about a certain vertical axis, then it is called what? Precession. So you have seen here two cases of rotational motion, one in which the axis is fixed and the other in which the axis itself is what? Rotating about another axis. The other axis is variable and it goes about this in a conical form. Clear? Starts from here and goes like this and describes a cone. Clear? So we understood the motion of a rotating top also, right? Now children, we will be doing equations of rotational motion, which will be important for you. Equations of rotational motion. We can say the rotational motion is actually an extension of what? Circular motion, in which a system of particles are involved, right? In fact, children, if initial angular velocity is equal to omega naught, and then final angular velocity is equal to omega, angular acceleration is equal to alpha, and angular displacement is equal to theta. Then the three equations, just like equation of linear motion, have done. Omega equals to omega 0 plus alpha into t. Then we have theta is equal to theta 0 plus omega naught t plus half alpha into t square. So you can see this is like v is equal to u plus at, and theta equals to theta 0, which is displacement at time t is equal to 0, plus omega 0 t plus half alpha t square. Omega 0 t is like ut plus half at square. In place of a we are writing alpha, and the third equation is omega square is equal to omega naught square plus 2 alpha theta. Right? These are the equations that we will be discussing. But before you understand this, you should understand two key terms. One is, I hope you have already done circular motion, but I will just revise it once. First one is angular velocity. Angular velocity. What is omega? Actually, when a particle moves along circular path, suppose a particle starts moving from point A and goes up to point B in a certain time interval and describes a certain angle delta theta. So rate of change of angular displacement with respect to time is called angular velocity. And angular velocity defined as, children, average angular velocity. This is what? Average angular velocity. I write here average angular velocity, children. Omega is equal to delta theta by delta t, or you can also write this as theta 2 minus theta 1 divided by t2 minus t1. Clear? And what unit of angle? Radian. And what unit of time? That is second. So its unit will be radian per second. Clear? So this is unit of angular velocity, and this is what you have written is average angular velocity. Now we have instantaneous angular velocity. Suppose angular velocity is changing all the time, then we will be using the concept of instantaneous angular velocity. And this instantaneous angular velocity omega is limiting value of delta theta by delta t when delta t tends to 0. And children, you are in class 11. I do not know how far you have done mathematical tools. This can be written as a derivative of d theta dt. Clear? And there are certain aspects you have to know. There are terms like time period, children. Time period. The amount of time taken to complete one full cycle is called what? Time period. So if time period is t, then omega can also be written as 2 pi by t. Now this will be an important formula. We will be using it. Omega is equal to 2 pi by t. And if frequency, you know what is frequency? Number of cycles per second is called what? Frequency. How many turns will be? If you buy a motor, then a motor is written 500 RPM, 500 revolutions per minute. So we divide by 60 to convert into per second. And if you know frequency is equal to nu, then omega is equal to 2 pi nu. So children, there is also beautiful formula that we will be using later on for numericals. Omega is equal to 2 pi over t, and omega is equal to 2 pi times the frequency, right? So these are some of the formula that we discussed for calculating the angular velocity. And now before we come to these derivations, we will also be seeing the relation between linear velocity and angular velocity. Okay? रब करते हुए दिखा देना. Relation between linear velocity v and angular velocity. We are doing relation between linear velocity and angular velocity. Very easily you can understand. Suppose a particle is describing motion along circular path, okay, with O as center, R as radius, and it is going from point A to point B. Now suppose this particle is going from position P1 to position P2, and as the particle moves along the circular path, you can see that its linear displacement will change. Let's say this is delta S, and its angular displacement delta theta will also change as you move along. From basic trigonometry, you know that the arc delta S is equal to R into delta theta. Very simple relation you have done. You have done theta in radian is equal to delta S by delta by R. Clear? Now if you divide both sides by delta t, delta S by delta t is R into delta theta by delta t. Now delta S by delta t is what? The linear velocity v. Delta theta by delta t is what? Omega. So this is a very simple relation, a beautiful relation between v and omega. That means for the same angular velocity, if I increase the radius, the linear velocity will also be changing. If you can see one typical case, I already discussed earlier with you though. There are three particles. The particles are A, B and C. This is A, this is B and this is C. They are moving along concentric circles with center what? O. And if suppose there is a question, find relation between the angular velocity and linear velocity, you can clearly see children, this is radius of A, that is RA. This is radius of B, that is RB. And this is radius of C, that is RC. Clear? but all are describing what? Same angle in the same given time interval, let's say delta t. So delta theta by delta t for A will be same as equal to B will be equal to C. That means angular velocity of A, B and C will be equal. However, if I use V is equal to what? R omega. For same omega, if R is more, then the linear velocity is what? More. So radius C is more than radius of B is more than radius of A. Clear? So we put it here. Then velocity of C will be more than velocity of B will be more than velocity of A. So this kind of questions can be asked to you. So you have to keep in mind that if angular velocity is same, more the radius, more will be the linear velocity. Now children will understand what is angular acceleration. When a particle is moving along a circular path, then it has an acceleration which is called angular acceleration. Just like in linear motion I have a linear acceleration, in circular motion you have what? Angular acceleration. Suppose a particle is moving along circular path, it goes from point P to point Q, right? And its angular velocity at these 2 points are different. Here the angular velocity is omega 1 and here angular velocity is how much here? Omega 2, right? Then angular acceleration is defined. So children, angular acceleration is defined a rate of change of angular velocity. Just like linear acceleration is rate of change of linear velocity, angular acceleration is rate of change of angular velocity. So angular acceleration alpha will be equal to delta omega by delta t. And that's actually average angular acceleration. Average angular acceleration, and its value can also be written as omega 2 minus omega 1 divided by t2 minus t1. So you can see that these quantities are basically same as you done in case of linear motion. I am replacing v by, if it was linear acceleration I will be writing a is equal to delta v by delta t or v2 minus v1 divided by t2 minus t1, right? And what will be its unit? Radian per second square. Clear? Now if you want to calculate instantaneous acceleration, instantaneous acceleration alpha is equal to, I will be writing d omega dt. Clear? So both ways is basically what? Same. Now what is the relation between angular acceleration and linear acceleration also we should be seeing, okay? Relation between A and alpha. We are going to do now relation between A and alpha, meaning linear acceleration and angular acceleration. Children, we know v is equal to r into omega. Suppose a particle is moving along a circle of radius r, so r will be constant for that. So if angular velocity will change, then linear velocity will also change. Then we can say delta v equals to r into delta omega. If you divide both sides by delta t, then you can clearly see that delta v by delta t is equal to r into delta omega by delta t. And delta v by delta t is what? Linear acceleration. R delta omega by delta t is what? Angular acceleration. So this is another beautiful relation we got. E is equal to r into alpha. Clear? And I want you to remember that alpha is equal to how much you get? D omega dt. Its other value will be omega d omega d theta. Please write on this value also, which will be very handy for you, right? So alpha is equal to d omega dt. E is equal to r into alpha. You can see the symmetry in the result. V is equal to r omega and E is equal to r alpha. Means if I have any what? Angular parameter and I want to convert to linear parameter, I will multiply with radius r. Omega into r is v and alpha times r is equal to E. So it will be important result and you have to keep in mind. Now I will be deriving the three equations of rotational motion. Okay. Now I will be deriving the first equation, children. Omega equals to omega 0 plus alpha t. Now, so this equation is, if you see the linear motion, in fact is v is equal to v0 plus et or v is equal to u plus at. Basically, this is implying the same situation out here. What is u is omega naught, also represented as v0. So, how will you derive? I will say we know alpha is equal to d omega dt. By cross multiplying, can write alpha dt is equal to d omega, or we can write d omega is equal to alpha dt. And once you have written this, we will integrate both sides. What will you do? Integrate both sides and set up the proper limits. See here, d omega is equal to alpha dt. When time is 0, the angular velocity is omega 0. When time is t, it is what? Omega. Integration of d omega is how much here? Omega naught minus omega naught to omega. Alpha comes out, integration of dt is t, 0 to t. Very well you can see this will be omega minus omega naught, alpha into t minus 0. So omega becomes omega naught plus alpha t. So children, this is the first equation of rotational motion that we have derived very easily, right? Children, the second equation is theta is equal to theta 0 plus omega naught t plus half alpha into t square. I will be deriving this equation. See, this equation is something like s is equal to s0 plus ut plus half at square. So you can see that these equations are basically what? Similar. Now how we derive? Very easily, we know d theta dt is equal to omega. Clear? But we derive that omega equals to omega naught plus alpha into t. That means d theta dt is equal to omega naught plus alpha t. If you cross multiply, then d theta becomes omega naught plus alpha t dt, and just integrate both sides. When time is equal to 0, then angular displacement is theta 0. When time is equal to t, angular displacement is theta. So if we integrate this, theta from theta 0 to theta is equal to omega naught dt is t 0 to t plus alpha, integration of t with respect to dt is how much of children? T square by 2 0 to t. Clear? If I substitute the limits, then this becomes theta minus theta 0 is equal to omega naught into t minus 0 plus half alpha, otherwise you can write here alpha into t square by 2 minus 0. Clear? If we simplify, children, we get theta minus theta naught is equal to omega naught t plus half alpha into t square, or theta equals to theta 0 plus omega naught t plus half alpha into t square. So this is the second equation of rotation motion that we have done. And very easily we can derive the third equation also. Okay, we know already we have done alpha is equal to omega d omega d theta. Clear? We can write this as omega d omega is equal to alpha d theta, and we'll just integrate from here, children. If you integrate, what do you get? Omega d omega is equal to alpha d theta. Let us set the limits. When theta is theta 0, then this is what? Omega 0. And when theta is theta, then this is omega. Clear? Integration of omega is how much? Omega square by 2. Set up the limits omega 0 to omega alpha theta, theta 0 to theta. Clear? So we get here omega square by 2 is equal to alpha theta minus theta 0. If you cross multiply, then omega square minus omega naught square is equal to 2 alpha into theta minus theta 0. Or you get omega square is equal to omega naught square plus 2 alpha into theta minus theta 0. So this is the third equation of motion. Clear? Here, if theta 0 is equal to 0, then omega square is equal to omega naught square plus 2 alpha theta. So children, we went through all the three questions of rotational motion. Okay. So make sure you are discussing this with yourself and doing your work. Okay.